The following is a community affairs presentation from the Ulster County Health Department. This is the Healthy Ulster Radio Show, a weekly presentation exploring community health and sustainability with guests representing a broad spectrum of community partners working to make Ulster County the healthiest in New York State. This program is sponsored by the Health Alliance of the Hudson Valley in Kingston, a member of the WMC Health Network.
Hi, and welcome to Healthy Ulster Radio. My name is Vincent Martello, Director of Community Health Relations for the Ulster County Department of Health. Healthy Ulster Radio explores community health and sustainability in its broadest possible sense, going well beyond medical care. And one of the important determinants of health, as we know, are called the social determinants of health. And within those are social support networks. This is about the family and friends and support networks that we and our families have in our communities. And along those lines, we have today with us two very special guests from an organization called Relatives as Parents. And their names are Jennifer Patterson, she's coordinator of Relatives as Parents, and Allison Solian, RAP youth educator. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So why don't we begin by telling us a little bit about what RAP is, how it came into being, and why it came into being.
RAP, which stands for Relatives as Parents Program, actually started at Cornell Cooperative Extension of Ulster County back in 2007. Cornell Cooperative Extension of Orange County had received a small grant to be utilized as seed money to begin programming in 3 counties, in which the county of Ulster was included. So RAP actually began back in 2007 in Ulster, and it is a program that is committed and dedicated to assisting relative caregivers. And what I mean by relative caregivers are caregivers who have relatives that have children that they're not able to care for, such as maybe nieces and nephews, granddaughters, grandsons, sometimes in very few cases older siblings caring for younger siblings. The biological parents are not able to care for the children for a variety of reasons, some of which include addiction, substance abuse, neglect, charges against them through social services, imprisonment, incarceration, and every once in a while, death. So the caregivers step up, the relative caregivers step up to take on caring for the child. So our program offers a lot of support. So we have monthly support group meetings to be able to help the families cope. We provide referral services. We do youth activities, youth development activities, and so on. So it's really a program that's dedicated to caring for what we call kinship caregivers.
Mm-hmm. And what is the need, say, in Ulster County? Have you seen it going up over the years, or pretty much?
Well, it's kind of hard to say because they only get reported numbers through the census. And not everybody is 100% honest, so they might not mention that they're raising, 3 grandchildren. But the numbers show that there are about 2,000 relative caregivers in Ulster County, but again, no one knows how accurate that is because sometimes it's just simply not reported, or they're not in the system where they're, appointed guardianship.
Mm-hmm. And do you go out and actively recruit people, or how does the word get out to them so that they know about these services?
That's always hard because there isn't one particular place in Ulster County that relative caregivers all, flock to. So we do get a number of referrals from social services. Sometimes we get new members through word of mouth. We might have a member or two that knows another family that's raising their grandchildren, so they'll refer them. We've gotten some referrals from doctors' offices if they know that, families are, bringing in grandchildren or nieces and nephews being cared for. But recruitment is tough because we find that the program participants really need to be in a certain mindset in order to be willing to ask for help. And for them, sometimes that's a barrier.
Mm-hmm. And what types of services do you provide for these folks? Walk us through what happens, say, from the time that someone contacts your office to being fully part of the program.
So typically, if we're contacted by a family, we do a personal intake. So the family will come in and meet Jennifer and I. We'll meet the kids, usually. We do a general intake form that gives us some basic information about the family, how they came to become relative caregivers. We have funding through the Office of Children and Family Services now. So we keep a lot of paperwork on when we contact them, when we talk to them, not only when they come to a support group necessarily, but also anytime that they reach out to us for just a referral service. So we always encourage them to come to our once-a-month support groups that run all year except for the summertime. In addition to that, we have youth programming. We do a community garden at Ulster Family Court that a lot of our families have been through. So we tried to make it a little bit of a happier place. So all summer we run that for the youth and the caregivers. That's actually an intergenerational activity. We run respite programs, such as we're taking some of the kids to Six Flags this month. That'll be fun and give
That's
the caregivers
nice.
Kind of a break to just do something for themselves. Because it can be a difficult situation sometimes and very overwhelming for a lot of our families. We also do a 4-H youth development program for the kids in addition. Our support groups always consist of 2 components. We usually do an education for the caregivers and then separately for the kids. So they're kind of each getting a little piece of it to bring the family together as a unit. The caregivers do a lot of, I'll let Jennifer cover that, education that will help out the family unit as a whole, and the kids, we kind of just have fun and have a safe space where they can feel welcome and not different, because all the kids there are raised by someone other than mom and dad, and that's one of the biggest components of the youth program that we have. The kids really make some relationships, which is nice.
Yeah, I bet there are some real friendships forged there, right?
Yeah.
You would, if you were an outsider looking in, you would think the group of kids that we have all grew up in the same house. That's how close they are.
Nice.
And they didn't know each other. You know, going back 5 years, everyone was brand new, fresh, didn't know the next person. So they've really formed solid relationships, and the same has happened with the adults. They've, you know, they get together outside of support groups, they contact each other, they know what's going on in each other's lives. So it carries over, you know, not just in our office, but outside, you know, in the real world. They've made friends with people in situations very similar to theirs, which is good. It offers a support and a familiarity, you know, that I think helps.
And unlike school, they continue with the program. So some of our youth we've known for 5 or 6 years. So they're able to grow with us. We're able to grow with them and meet their needs as they grow older, as their caregivers reach different issues with different milestones, whether the kids are teenagers or babies. We can always adjust our programming to meet their needs. We really base all of it on that.
Right. I bet there are some special challenges too with, say, older relatives, right, who raise their kids in kind of a different era in our society, where, you know, whereas now there's so many more challenges with, you know, as a parent, I know of them, you know, in bringing a child up successfully, you know,
and that raises a good point. We see that, we've heard that. So we like to, once a year, usually at the beginning of the school year, we ask our program participants, both the youth and the adults, what they feel they need to learn or what they would like to know more about, or areas that they don't think they know much in. So we get an idea from them what kind of programming they want. And we've gotten ideas such as the whole social media. I mean, some of our caregivers are just, that isn't what they grew up with. So
yeah, that's a big one.
They don't know anything. So we've done some training on social media, things to look out for, things to kind of, you know, be careful with as far as social media. It's tough, but they're pretty good about giving feedback, and they know what they don't know and what they need to learn more about. They've got kids in middle school. Middle school now is different than it was in 1963. So that whole other area. So we've had educators come in from like Planned Parenthood to talk about issues that maybe are not so easy for, you know, grandma and grandpa who might be in their early 70s to talk about with their 13-year-old grandchildren. So we really take feedback from our caregivers and go with that and give them what they feel they need to know.
What are some of the other challenges, more common challenges with grandparents and younger children?
One of the challenges that comes to mind is activity. I mean, sometimes you're dealing with older the older generation having health issues, and they're not able to do as much with the kids.
Right.
So that gave us ideas as far as programming that includes physical activity. So we know the kids on a fairly regular basis are moving, getting outside, doing stuff. We usually participate in the running program that the YMCA offers every year, which begins in January and ends in April. It ends with the Kids Classic. So the last 5 years we've been involved. It gives the kids something to do on Saturday morning. It's regular, and there's a goal at the end. So, and we use it as an intergenerational activity. The kids go to the Y to run, the caregivers meet, we walk the indoor track. So everyone's moving and involved in activity together. But that's a challenge because, they're not, some of them are not in the greatest of health, and it's hard for them to give the kids the activity that they need, in order to be vibrant and healthy.
Mm-hmm. And as far as the grandparents are concerned, or whomever the caregivers are, do they generally look on it as, kind of like an obligation of family to do this, or is this something that they're enthused about or less enthused about? Where does it fall on that spectrum, or is it all over the map?
It's all over the map.
It's all over the map. And they all come with different situations, and sometimes there's anger, sometimes there's resentment, and not just of the caregivers, of the kids as well. Mm-hmm. Depending on how they came into that situation can really depend on how they're all handling it. So that's why the support group is so nice, because it puts them in an area with people who have gone through what they've gone through, and are at different stages of it. So someone who's new to this and is just dealing with social services and trying to figure out how to get guardianship and how to enroll their kid in school and all those crazy things that happen right in the beginning when it's kind of like survival mode. Some of our caregivers who have been with the program for a while can help them through that. Right. And be like, we're here, we've been through it. Mm-hmm. I know it's hard, but at least we're here to help you, which is nice. And then the older caregivers who've been doing it for a while, they can take somewhat of a leadership role, and we can look to them sometimes to be like, well, what was this like for you, and how can we help these people? So, there's a lot of different layers. Plus, there's the birth parents still that sometimes are involved, mm-hmm. and sometimes aren't, and that can change a situation drastically, and how the kids react to it as well.
We've had some families where, and I'm thinking of certain families where their grandchildren were born and have always lived with them. So this wasn't anything earth-shattering, because the child might have, spent the first few years in their house with their birth parents. Uh-huh. So there's not as much anger and resentment. We've had others that have had completely separate lives, facing retirement and plans to move south, and boom, one day all of that just changed, and guess what? You're not retiring. You have to work because you're now raising a 5-year-old, and you're not going to be retiring and moving south. So there's a little bit of anger, huge life-altering, decision to take a child in. But they've done it, and I think with our support groups and spending time with other families in that same situation, they all come to learn that all these feelings are normal, mm-hmm. and that they're healthy, and that they're not feeling anything different than the person next to them. And it's good to just be able to come out and talk about it and connect with other people and see that, things do work out. Mm-hmm. You need help sometimes, and don't be afraid to ask for it or to lean on someone, but things typically work out.
Right.
And from the child's perspective, if they've lived with their grandmother all along, that's normal to them. But if CPS was involved, sometimes the authorities are involved, it can be a really traumatic experience for a child. Yeah. So then you're dealing with those issues as well. There might be behaviors that are popping up that the caregivers don't know how to deal with because their kids didn't necessarily have that behavior. And that's where we come in. If someone's experienced something, they can come to us in a support group and say, I don't know what to do. Johnny's doing such and such. And we can then look at our referrals and the services that we can help provide to address the issues that are at hand.
How often does the support group meet, and is there something in the interim in between those meetings that if there's something comes up?
We run monthly support group meetings. That's usually the first Friday of the month. In addition to the monthly support group meetings, we have the monthly 4-H meetings, mm-hmm. and we also have a newly started teen group. That's for the youth rap that have aged out of kind of the younger group, and they're the preteen and teenagers. We can always be reached via telephone, so that's easy. But the organized events happen the same time every month.
Right.
And if there is something that we can't necessarily provide, because we do support and education, if they're looking for money or an apartment or something, we can then look into community resources and help navigate the community resources out there. So we do a referral program as well.
Sounds good. So we're going to find out more about this, but we have to take a short break right now. You're listening to Healthy Ulster Radio, and we'll be back soon.
The excitement continues to build. The mission of Health Alliance is now made even stronger by our new partnership with the Westchester Medical Center Health Network. By combining a legacy of community-based care with WMC Health, we are building a stronger, healthier, and more vibrant community. We'll be collaborating to provide preventive, primary, specialty, and advanced care right here where you live, where we all live. Health Alliance and WMC Health, advancing care here. Visit HAHV.org to learn more.
Hi, welcome back. You're listening to Healthy Ulster Radio with our guests Jennifer Patterson and Allison Solian from Relatives as Parents. And ladies, you mentioned that you had a special teen breakout group that meets. Tell us a little bit about that and what you do with those folks.
So Jennifer and I have both been with this program for about 6 years now. And when I originally started, the youth that I was working with were pretty young, between like the ages of 5 to 9. So obviously the programming that I was doing with them was geared towards that. Well, now that they've stayed with the program, they're hitting those teen years. So I had to revamp what I was doing with them, because crafting and doing fun little things, I was losing my teens and I didn't want to lose them. So we decided to break out and make a special little spot just for the teenagers. The caregivers don't come to that. And we do things like life skill building. We talk about life after high school. We try to do some nutrition. We have taught them how to make meals from scratch, because one of the things that I dealt with in college and a lot of my friends is no one knew how to make mac and cheese, so we're trying to set them up for a really healthy life after high school when they're not going to be a part of the program anymore. So we also use their suggestions on this. I ask them repeatedly all the time, what do you guys want to learn more about? One thing that they did this year that was really great is they went to Cornell University, which we're affiliated with, on a trip called Career Explorations. So they get to go to the university, they stay in the dorms, it's a 3-day trip. They get to experience a lot of different tracks that they could take if they went to Cornell. So that was great, and they loved it. They had a really great time, got to meet friends from all over New York State, because it's actually a 4-H program. So we're looking for opportunities like that. We're probably going to visit some more colleges of different types. I mean, Cornell is obviously Ivy League, but we want to visit Ulster Community College. We want to go to BOCES so that they have a lot of different options and they know that it's not just go to college or work, that there's a lot of places out there that they can do or go to and be better people.
That's really great.
One of the other areas that we touch on in the teen group is community service. And for them to be able to take this trip to Cornell to experience career explorations, they had to work. So they worked the milkshake booth at the Ulster County Fair for 8 very long hours. And I can attest to that because I was there. And in exchange for that, they earned partial scholarship to be able to go to Cornell for those 3 days. So it didn't come easy and it didn't come free. They had to work to be able to get there, which was a good lesson. And it was hard work. The milkshake booth was on your feet for 8 straight hours, being nice to customers when you were tired and crabby. So they got a taste of what that feels like. So it was good. It was a good experience. And you know that they loved it and they're willing to do it again next year, to be able to go back. So we give them a lot of good experiences, things that they'll be able to utilize when they reach those late teen adult years.
And do you find the teens mentor some of the younger children occasionally too?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they really take a role in that. And we give them that role. We say, you're older now, you've been a part of the program. You know what it was like when you first, left mom and dad to live with grandma and grandpa. So you guys can reach out to the younger kids, and the kids, all kids look up to older kids. So it's a pretty easy sell. And we have a lot of fun. So they come to everything. They come to the team program and also the support groups, and they take different roles depending on what we're doing. Mm-hmm. The team program is all about them. The support group, they can take that leadership role, which is also another skill that they can use later in life.
So how is the RAP program funded, and is there a charge for people to get involved, or a sliding scale of any kind? How does that work?
There's no charge. All the programming, all the activities that we provide, that we offer, the cost is covered. The teen program that we just mentioned has been funded through the Ulster Savings Charitable Foundation. So we do get some local money, them being one. We received some funding through United Way, which was really nice. We have also received some private funding through the Dyson Foundation in Dutchess County, as well as a federal grant that Allison mentioned earlier, which is the Office for Children and Family Services. So we have a variety of funding sources, although it's never 100% guaranteed. So we always have to keep our eyes open for new grants, new monies that are coming available to keep our program funded. And we always, there's always that possibility of budget cuts. So we've learned to be able to, we can provide programming for little to no charge, but always for participants, because many of them are facing financial issues. We don't charge. We don't want that to be a reason why someone doesn't come.
And you always have available slots for people, in other words? You do?
We do. We make that work. If they want help or they want to be part, then we make room. And
on average, how many families do you have participating in the program at any given time, roughly?
It can vary. I mean, because some families are more involved in certain programs than others. The support groups, we can have anywhere from 10 to 15 families, and it fluctuates. And we serve more than that through flyers and newsletters and getting the word out. So even though they might not be interested in one support group, the next one they might. So we're always constantly putting it out there. Okay, this is what we're doing. Please come. This is what you're going to get from this. This is what the kids will get from this. That kind of thing.
For instance, we just had a support group last weekend, and we had a guest speaker from the Office for the Aging who did a piece on Medicare. So all of the caregivers that were in that age range came. We have another support group next month where we have someone from the Department of Health coming to discuss immunizations. So that might open up for a different population.
Right.
So they kind of look to see the subject material if we have a guest speaker and decide if they're interested, if it fits them. The support groups where we kind of just sit around and talk and discuss, problems and issues that people are facing, they're usually heavily attended because everyone loves to come out and kind of talk and vent a little bit.
Right.
So it really can vary.
Right. When you think about, you think about breakdown in community and families being scattered all about, I really think, it's my opinion that breakdown in community is responsible for a lot of the problems that we have in our world, And conversely, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, their county health rankings, lists social supports as one of the 33 criteria by which they measure the health of a county. And there's been a lot of research done. There's this one community in Jersey, which was an Italian-American immigrant community, and their longevity and their chronic disease rates were far above the U.S. average, much, much better. And so they sent researchers in to find out what was it. Was it diet, food, water? It was social connectivity. And really, that's what we're talking about here, is community coming together to help each other, really. And that's really what a healthy Ulster County is about. That's what this program is about. So tell us, if people want more information or they have questions, they want to participate, or can they donate as well if they want to? Maybe?
Yes.
Okay. So where do they go? How do they get in touch with you?
Well, we can be reached via telephone, 845-340-3990. I'm at extension 343. Allison's at extension 345. We are located down in the Kingston Plaza, 232 Plaza Road. For many people locally, it's where the old Blockbuster used to be in the Kingston Plaza. We've since taken over that spot. You can't miss our sign. Big red letters, Cornell Cooperative Extension. I can also be reached via email. My email is jmp394@cornell.edu. So between telephone, email, we do have folks that just stop in, and they're always welcome. We're happy to share information and get them registered.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing information about this terrific program. Thank you for all the great work you do. You're welcome. You're listening to Healthy Ulster Radio. If you have any comments, questions, need more information, send us an email at healthyulsterradio@gmail.com. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Healthy Ulster Radio Show, a community affairs presentation from the Ulster County Health Department, sponsored by Health Alliance of the Hudson Valley in Kingston, a member of the WMC Health Network. Thanks for listening, and be sure to join us for another edition of the Healthy Ulster Radio Show next week.